We are covering the Texas Real Estate Commission's Addendum for Sale of Other Property by Buyer, a critical form for your Texas real estate exam. This addendum is used when a buyer needs to sell their existing home to be able to purchase a new one. It creates a contingency, meaning the contract to buy the new home is dependent on the sale of the buyer's current property. On the exam, you'll need to know that if the buyer fails to sell their property by the date specified in the addendum, the contract automatically terminates, and the buyer is entitled to a refund of their earnest money. A major concept tested is the seller's right to continue marketing the property, which is handled by what's commonly called a kick-out clause. This is not a true right of first refusal. A common exam trap is to confuse these two. A right of first refusal would require the seller to offer the property to the first buyer under the same terms as a new offer. The kick-out clause in this addendum works differently. If the seller receives another acceptable offer, they must give the first buyer written notice. The first buyer then has a short, predetermined amount of time, often just a few days, to make a crucial decision. They can either terminate the contract or waive the contingency. Waiving the contingency is a high-stakes move and a key focus for exam questions. To waive, the buyer must provide written notice to the seller and deposit additional earnest money with the escrow agent. This act of waiving removes the safety net. The buyer is now obligated to purchase the property whether their old home sells or not. If they waive the contingency and then fail to close because they couldn't get the funds from their old home sale, they will be in default. This means they will likely lose all of their earnest money. If the buyer does not waive within the specified time after receiving the seller's notice, the first contract terminates automatically. Their earnest money is returned, and the seller is free to move forward with the second offer. For an exam-style example, imagine a buyer has a 3-day period to waive after the seller gives notice of a new offer. The seller gives notice on a Monday at 5 p.m. The buyer has until Thursday at 5 p.m. to act. If they do nothing, the contract is terminated. If they provide written notice of waiver and deposit the additional earnest money before the deadline, the contract moves forward without the sale contingency. Remember this phrase to keep it straight. To stay in the game, you must waive and pay. This helps recall the two required actions for the waiver: written notice and depositing additional earnest money. The exam will test your understanding of these strict timelines and procedural requirements, as time is of the essence in this addendum. For free practice questions, AI-powered explanations, and more exam prep tools, visit openexamprep.com. That's openexamprep, all one word, .com.